Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 16th Multidisciplinary Seminar organized by St. Mary's University. I would like for us to dive into the first item on the agenda, and for that, let me call upon the founder and president of St. Mary's University, Associate Professor Tamrat.
Good morning to you all. Dear members of the University Senate, invited guests, paper presenters, Master of Ceremony, chairpersons, and reporters of the day, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 16th Multidisciplinary Seminar, organized and sponsored by St. Mary's University. As you may all note, this platform is known for bringing together experts from various backgrounds and a multitude of multidisciplinary topics that address a variety of subjects and themes of social significance. I'm happy to note that this year's presenters are drawn from Addis Ababa Science and Technology University, Kotabe University of Education, Walaita Sodo University, Police University, and the host, St. Mary's University. We hope conference participants will not only use the day-long event to learn from the wisdom and knowledge of paper presenters, but will also take the opportunity to network with others and establish valuable personal and professional relationships. Once again, I extend a very warm welcome to all participants and hope that the seminar will be fruitful, enticing, and engaging. I wish you all a successful day and useful deliberations. Thank you for your attention.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this 16th multidisciplinary seminar, and I'm going to be chairing the first session, which is going to be having 3 different research papers focusing on 3 wide and gigantic fields. And I'm going to call the first presenter, Baruch Schwartek, to come to the podium.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning all. So I'm now going to present on this topic titled Epistemicide, Extraversion, and the African University, with of course some conceptual considerations. Well, this paper probes into the intricate nexus between and among the 3. These are epistemicide, extraversion, and the African University, elucidating the enduring colonial entanglement of these universities, even in the post-colonial medium. So the central thesis of this paper posits that the African universities, which are originally established as colonial outposts to propagate imperialist epistemologies, have persistently failed to extricate themselves from these colonial legacies that resulted in a profound epistemic and national extraversion. So employing a philosophical methodology which is underpinned by a review of extant literature and discursive analysis, this study critically interrogates the historical and contemporary dynamics of epistemicide and its ramification to the epistemic autonomy of the universities. So the universities, often seen as the centers of enlightenment, naively perhaps, from the common people of their surrounding, paradoxically, however, they become institutions to perpetuate epistemicide. And this actually is manifested through their negligence of subjectivity, as it was pronounced by the neo-Marxist traditions or the critical social theory school of the Frankfurt one, which highly actually promotes subjectivity of the universities. So the universities contribute to epistemic violence in this regard, undermining the intellectual sovereignty and cultural heritage of the African people. This actually is concomitantly related with international recognition, or the issue of what we may call internationalization of the universities or the curricula, in which this internationalization is nothing else than universalizing the discourse that only represents a certain segment of humanity. So the universities orient research agendas and academic programs to the validation of Western academic institutions, which are employed, I perceive, to be gatekeepers of global knowledge production. And this is what actually Mohammed Mamdani made him to argue in such a way that knowledge, if at all produced in the Western, needs to be produced by analogy from a certain center that assumes universality. And this actually shows how the academia is intrinsically become an institute of epistemicide and furthermore extraversion. Now, there are some suggested way outs of understanding decolonization in a broader context, actually. The restricted understanding of decolonization, at least from the political avenue or from the political point of view, offers limited utility in our discourse, in our discussion here. If that is the case, actually, it was possible for me to claim that we are independent and decolonized at the continental level. Actually, I want you to know that the discourse I'm discussing about African university is purely inclusive of the Ethiopian experience. Because the Ethiopian exceptionalism, as I've argued somewhere else, is nullified thanks to these universities that we have now and the way they were being instituted and working now. So the decolonization of knowledge production has emerged as a significant topic of discussion since the time of independence, actually. And the concept of decolonization must consider the dual effects of epistemicide and extraversion on the African university. Of course, there were attempts to be made by post-independent visionary and revolutionary leaders like Nkrumah on how knowledge can be decolonized by instituting the State for African Studies and University of Ghana. But eventually, it can't actually wither away those tracks it's founding itself. So also, the foundation agenda became component of post-colonial studies for several decades. The contemporary focus was notably invigorated by the Rose Must Fall movement in South Africa very recently, if not recently, but relatively recently, in 2015 at the University of Cape Town. So to conclude some of the points I've raised earlier, epistemicide is a pervasive and enduring challenge that was inflicted by colonial violence, and it continued in the post-colonial setting. This prevailed global division of labor requires an understanding of the entwinement of knowledge in both economic and epistemic extraversion is crucial, and the struggle against epistemicide and the concomitant concept of extraversion is critical for the intellectual emancipation of African universities.
It may be difficult to found a single theoretical issue or a single theory which used as a foundation for both ethical leadership and social exchange. But there are some theories like social exchange theory, social learning theory. It can be used as a foundation even if they are not directly the basis for this issue. Further, even if it is not directly contributing to this integration of ethical leadership and social exchange, the leader-member exchange theory are also expected to contribute and used as a foundation for this integration. On the other hand, therefore, this theoretical foundation are maybe giving a hint about the necessity of ethical leadership in social exchange. When I come to the research problem and the gap, different scholars may conceptualize ethical leadership as well as this social exchange from different point of views. However, when we see some of the concepts, for example, from Brown, he thinks that it is a combination of transactional and transformational leadership. The other study says transformational leadership is unethical, while transactional leadership is ethical, it says. This is one of the finding which may bring a dilemma and some misunderstanding. Others are also encouraging this paternalistic leadership is good for ethical leaders, it says. Therefore, the corpus of knowledge in the subject matter is still debatable, and also it is fragmented. There is also some controversial findings are there. Gu, in a study in 2005, says that he found some reciprocal relationship between ethical leadership and the performance, but we expect some positive relationship. Unfortunately, this finding is maybe one of the findings that we say it is controversial. Therefore, there is a need to clarify this thing. On the other hand, there is no consistency among the terms such as the themes like leadership, ethical leadership, social exchange, leadership style, and something like that. Because of this, some comprehensive understanding is still lagged. Even there is no consensus on the determinants, the outcomes, the extraneous variables, and some other related variables. This may be because of the different reasons, or because of the different researchers are providing some different conceptual relationship. even when one researcher may provide one variable as a determinant, the other put that variable as an outcome of ethical leadership or social exchange. This is one of the controversies we found in this study. As a result, the linkage, particularly the linkage between ethical leadership and social exchange, is not well theorized still. Therefore, it is important to integrate these two concepts and some sort of analysis is required. When I come to the contribution of this study, the first one is this research maybe is among the first to reveal some research trends, particularly on the ethical leadership in the social exchange. Some influential studies, influential journals, influential teams, and related issues. And the other one is it try to provide some integrated frameworks which integrate the two concepts. The other one is also we try to build a framework which we feel is a comprehensive framework which shows the incidents and outcomes of this ethical leadership, particularly in the context of social exchange. It is also one of the first to quantitatively examine the significant amount of data in the subject matter. When I come to the objective, mainly the primary objective is to investigate this performance analysis and the scientific mapping on the subject matter of the social exchange something. Particularly, it focuses on analyzing the main foundational themes for the new concept of this ethical leadership in social exchange. The second objective is determining or finding the incidents and the consequences of this, the integrated concept of ethical leadership in social exchange. The other one is the critical areas or identifying the critical areas that require some future empirical investigations. When I come to the methodology section, basically we have adopted the methods used by Teixeira and also some procedures suggested by Lane and Luke is there. Just our methodology is mostly following these procedures and methods developed by these scholars. Then these procedures contain this stage in short. At the first place, we try to develop research setup, then we undertake some inclusion and exclusion criteria, data cleaning and analysis. The details will be here. At the first stage, we try to select the database, and particularly we selected Scopus because of different reasons. That some theoretical foundation that support the relevance of this database is there. Based on that, Scopus has been selected. Then next to that, we have identified 204 documents in the first search. Based on some inclusion and exclusion criteria, 184 documents, and particularly journal articles, has been used for analysis. Before that, the terms that we have used in there in entering to the database, like ethical leader, responsible leadership. Then these are the search terms that we have used. Some synonymous terms with the ethical leadership has been used. Asterisk has been used in order to include all varieties related with leadership, leaders, and something like that. When I come to the inclusion and exclusion criteria, mainly the exclusion criteria should be based on the types of the document, which are all documents other than journal articles has been eliminated, and we have considered only the journal articles. In terms of the language, all articles published or written in other language other than English has been removed. Then when it comes to the data analysis method, we have undertaken both qualitative and quantitative data analysis. Qualitative data thematic analysis has been used based on the quantitative results. The quantitative analysis will be both performance and the scientific mapping has been undertaken. In order to do this, we have used VOS Viewer software and Bible Shiny R Studio software has been used. In order to talk particularly about the exclusion and inclusion criteria, these are simply the results of exclusion and inclusion criteria based on the type of document. 18 documents has been removed based on the language, 2 documents has been removed, and 100 used for final analysis. When I see the other descriptive results like publishing journals, Journal of Business Ethics, Personnel Review, Frontiers in Psychology, the major journal, a total of 414 institutions has participated. The highest number of documents is maybe affiliated with universities from China. This indicates that maybe most of the time, because of resource, because of infrastructures, scholars from these institutions and countries are publishing a lot of documents. In terms of the publishers and authors' analysis, there are some authors, maybe it may be difficult to talk the finding of these papers. The top authors like Tierney, Mayer, and Awalumba are there. They are mainly focusing on the ethical leadership side, but they have considered the social exchange concept in their article. Therefore, even in terms of citation, these scholars covered about 34.74% of the total citations, and that is widely considered documents or studies in this subject matter. When you come to the scientific mapping, particularly focusing on the three-field approach of authors, affiliations, and the countries, there are some scholars or giant contributors from advanced countries mostly. Even only few scholars from developed countries are producing some significant amount of documents. When we are testing the effect of the new concept of ethical leadership in social exchange on outcomes like ethical behavior, job satisfaction, and work engagement, we have to test the role of different variables under leadership behaviors, under the new concept of ethical leadership in social exchange behaviors, the leader-member exchange aspects, other aspects supports are there. Just we recommend this thing based on this the framework or the comprehensive framework that has been developed. The last issue is the implications of the study. Then we have tried to forward some implication for future researchers. Particularly, one of the implications is the future researchers should give emphasis on emerging topics like responsible leadership, how it is related with the ethical leadership, particularly in the context of social exchange. And also, we advise future researchers to integrate these two concepts, that is ethical leadership and the social exchange issue. And also, they have to test the determinants and consequences of this integrated concept. On the other hand, previous literatures are finding some controversial findings, and then future researchers should need to clarify this thing. And also, there is a need to study the role of the new construct, which is maybe the integrated concept on creativity, performance, and something like that. The issue of extraneous variables is also another thing that we have shown in the comprehensive framework. And at the end, when try to provide true managerial implications, the first one is this study provides practitioners like the managers or other leaders to consider various issues related with this ethical leadership in social exchange, and particularly how they convert this ethical leadership to behaviors into the followers' actions. And finally, it helps leaders to weigh different factors, as we indicated previously. There are different controversial issues are there. As a result, leaders should weigh these different factors when they try to make some informed decisions. And thank you.
The presentation has 6 major components: the background of the study, the statement of the problem, research objective, research methodology, result and discussion, and conclusion and recommendation. So let's start from the background of study. So different scholars and organizations provide different definitions for the word food security, and from those definitions, the mostly known and widely accepted one was provided by FAO. So FAO defined food security as a state where all people at all times have physical, social, economic, and access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meet their dietary needs and food preference for an active and healthy life. So it's obvious that the food security has an impact on a country's economic growth. But unfortunately, the food insecurity in Ethiopia becomes a concern for over a century, and nowadays it's becoming a burning issue. For instance, FAO found that 20.4 million individuals experience severe food insecurity. In addition, Relief Web defined Ethiopia's food insecurity as the worst food insecurity, that with a record-breaking food assistance need brought by drought and different political instabilities. In addition, according to Global Hunger Index, out of 125 nations that have sufficient data to compute a global hunger index, Ethiopia becomes number 101st with serious level of hunger. So from all of these statistical facts, we can understand that Ethiopia's food insecurity is very alarming, that needs to be focused and addressed by a concerned body. So the food insecurity situation in the specific area is extremely inadequate. So IMPEL measures the food security status of the study area using two food security indicators called the Food Insecurity Experience Scale and the Food Consumption Score. And from both indicators, it was found that the food insecurity in the study area was very poor. And also different organizations and researchers study and assess the status and the determinants of food security in different parts of the country, and they found a number of factors. However, those studies were conducted in the same topic. They failed to use more than one food security indicator to assess the food security status of the households. In addition, they just used a binary logit model instead of ordered logit model with ordinal outcome. And very rare, almost no studies incorporate the PSNP membership, agroecology zone, and farm-related trainings as explanatory variable. And there is no study that include all of the 9 case areas in a single study for this reference year. So this research was conducted to fill those gaps. So the general objective of this study is to estimate the level of food security and identify its determinants in East Hararghe zone, Oromia regional state. And the specific objectives are to measure the level of food security situation at household level, to describe the food security situation in the study area, and to identify different factors affecting food security situation at household level in the study area. So let's proceed to the methodology. So East Hararghe is one of the 20 zones of Oromia with 20 waredas. So according to CSS, the projected population of East Hararghe zone in 2023 is around 4 million, from which half of them are females. And the population of this study is REFSA and PSNP beneficiaries. So REFSA, so what is REFSA? So REFSA, or Resilience Food Security Activity, is a 5-year project supported by USAID, which is being implemented by CRS Ethiopia. And the goal of this project is to improve the food security of the poor and vulnerable communities. And the beneficiaries are productive safety net program clients. And we can understand the goal of the project from its name. So the quantitative secondary data were used based on a survey called Monthly Interval Resilience Analysis, or MIRA. So MIRA is a context monitoring tool being collected by CRS Ethiopia by a monthly basis. So it's a context monitoring tool that assesses shock responsiveness in the food security status of households. It involves 5 frequent data. By the way, it's a monthly data, and it's been 2 years since the data collection is started, and it will be continue up to the end of the project. So the sampling size and sampling technique, here we have 3 sections. The first one is the sample frame. So the sample frame for this study is all IFA, or by the way, IFA is the brand name of REFSA. So IFA means light in Afan Oromo. So this project will try to brighten the future of the poor households. So the sample frame for this study is households from all IFA or REFSA operational waredas, which includes around 300,000 households or 1.5 million people and 241 qabalis of those 9 waredas. And the sample size, a total of 880 households or 20 households per 44 qabalis were calculated using the formula developed by Food and Nutrition Assistance, or FANTA. And for the sampling technique, the general 2-stage sampling technique was used. So the primary sampling unit, or qabalis, they were selected using the systematic PPS sampling technique. This was because the qabalis were different in each warada, so to accommodate the difference in numbers, the systematic PPS method was used. In the secondary sampling units, the households, they were randomly selected. So both descriptive and econometric analysis were undertaken. Frequency count, percentage, and means were used as a descriptive analysis. In addition, 4 food security indicators were used to measure food security level, and for the econometric analysis, the ordered logit model was used. So let's directly proceed to the result. So I have already mentioned the food security status of the households were measured using 4 indicators. So the first indicator is the food consumption score. So this indicator categorized the food items into 8 groups. Then it counts the frequency of consuming these food groups for the past 7 days, and it give a weight for the food items. So from this result, we can see that most of the populations were on poor food security status, and only 3% of them had acceptable level of food security. So from this, we can understand that the population in the study area, they mainly consume a food item with lowest nutritional value, such as bread, injera, porridge, and other staple foods. And they rarely consume food items with highest nutritional value, like meat, egg, and milk. The second indicator, the household dietary diversity score. So this indicator just categorizes the food items into 12 food groups, and it just counts the number of food items consumed in a day. It's unweighted sum. So from this result, we can see that the majority of the households were on the poor food security status, and only 8% of them had an acceptable level. So from this, we can understand that the population in the study area consumes small number of meals in a day. And the third indicator, the reduced coping strategy index. So this indicator measures the strategies that the households took when they have a shortage of food for the past 7 days. So from this result, we can see that majority of the households were moderately food insecure, and only 3% of them were food secure. So we can see that the population in the study area use harmful strategies to cope with food shortage, such as restricting the food consumption of adults to feed children, or reducing number of meals eaten in a day. And the last indicator, the household hunger scale. This indicator measures how hungry the households were for the past 30 days. So from the result, we can see that 69% of them they were food secure, and 1% of the populations were on the catastrophic level of food security. So when we just look at it, it looks that this indicator produces better food security status, right? But the reality is this is the most dangerous indicator, because on the previous 3 indicators, we were talking about the nutritional value or the number of meals. But here we are talking about eating nothing at all. So even having very small part of the population with food insecurity using this indicator implies the severity of food insecurity. So for example, here we have 1% of population with catastrophic level of food security. So, which means from the total of 880 households, 88 households didn't eat anything, or they stayed the whole day, and night without eating anything for several days, maybe for 5 to 10 or more than 10 days. So imagine how bad it is. So this indicator implies severity of food insecurity in the area. So from all of the 4 indicators, we can see that how severe the food security is in the study area. And let's proceed to the ordered logit model, the econometric analysis. This is the marginal effect of 14 explanatory variables. So the chi-square was significant. The chi-square was found to be significant at 1% of a degree of level of significance. So the data fits the model well. So from the 14 variables, the 9 variables was found to be statistically significant, and as per the result, the age of the household living in highland agroecology zone, dependency ratio, being public work, PSNP client, total livestock ownership, and training related to farming activity have a positive impact on food security, where having largest number of household size, having access to credit, and engaging in off-farm activities have a negative impact on food security. So from those 9 significant variables, 6 were in line with the previous studies and as per the expected outcome. And however, the dependency ratio, it contradicts with the previous study and the expected outcome, and 2 variables having access to credit and off-farm engagement. They already have 2 types of previous studies. Some says it has a negative and some says it has positive relationship, and this study confirms that they have a negative relationship with food security. It doesn't mean that those 2 variables contribute to food security negatively by themselves. It's the use and the utilization of these things that makes the food security better or worse. So the food security in the study were measured for food security indicator, and it was found that it was they have a poor food security status, and from the 14 variables, 9 were found to be statistically significant, and the remaining 5 variables was found to be statistically insignificant, even though they were found significant in other previous studies. And the last part, the recommendation. So this research recommends government to encourage and endorse climate-smart agriculture for especially the lowland areas, to provide farm-related training, to initiate and provide food education programs, especially for the youngest household heads, to enhance a safety net program in a way that compensates the direct support PSNP clients, to strengthen the family planning program, to facilitate access to input and resources such as animal breeds, and to educate and monitor finance. So government is recommended to prioritize these key initiatives by collaborating with different NGOs, financial service providers, and government. And lastly, I want to close my presentation with a speech said by a known politician, John F. Kennedy. He said that war against hunger is a truly mankind's war of liberation. Thank you so much.
Root length of cassava was recorded in local cultivar, which planted at 45 degrees, and it is statistically equivalent with planting of kilo variety in slant position, whereas the lowest cassava length was recorded in kilo variety, which is planted in 90 degree or upright position. When we come to root diameter or root grease or root thickness, the highest root thickness was recorded in kilo variety, which is planted in horizontal position, and the lowest is recorded in local cultivar, which is planted in 80 degree. When we come to the root per plant, the highest root or highest number of root per plant was recorded in kilo variety, which is planted 45 degree inclined position, and the lowest root length or root number of root per plant was recorded in local cultivar, which is planted in 180 degree. So when we come to the yield and yield component parameter, also the yield and yield component parameters were significantly influenced by the variety of cassava, location, and the planting position. So the highest unmarketable root yield of cassava recorded in local cultivar, which is planted 180 degree, and which is statistically equivalent with yellow variety, which is planted in horizontal position.
The presentation is going to be first, I will be providing background of the study, statement of the problem, objectives of the study, followed by significance of the study, research methodology employed on this study, as well as research results and discussions, and finally conclusions and recommendations will be presented to you. To begin with, dispute is an unavoidable part of social interaction since the development of human settlement. Unresolved disputes can fester and escalate and threaten national security and peace and stability of one country. Globally, before the establishment of formal courts and administrative tribunals, and even after their establishment, there is another way of dispute resolution known as alternative dispute resolution. Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce Arbitration Institute has been providing this alternative dispute resolution services for the past 22 years. So this study explores the contribution of ADR to social cohesion to deepen our understanding and encourage the use of ADR for peaceful coexistence. In Ethiopia, for the past few years, war, conflict, and violence has led to loss of millions of our brothers and sisters' lives. It also resulted in the destruction of infrastructures, loss of hospitals, roads. It also resulted in the displacement of vulnerable groups, women, children, elderly people were forced to flee their homes, and it also led to the breakdown of social cohesion. So ADR aims to promote social cohesion by facilitating dialogue and reconciliation between opposing groups. The majority of the studies that has been conducted before in Ethiopian context have focused on the importance and contribution of traditional dispute resolutions mechanisms for promoting harmony and peaceful relationship between dispute actors. In Ethiopia, which has more than 80 ethnic groups, almost all ethnic groups have their own way of dispute resolution, traditional way. When you see this, the north part, the Tigray and Amhara have Shimagale, the Oromo has the Gada system. Also in Somali, Afar, Sidama, every ethnic group have their own way of dispute resolution, but they are different. It is different from region to region because they have different cultures. So what is applicable in one region may not be applicable in another region. And it also, the dispute resolution is conducted by an elderly person. It doesn't involve the younger generation. Also, it's not gender inclusive. So these studies were limited to certain region areas. It may not be conclusive for the broader national contexts. So there seems to be a diminished understanding for the roles and functions of the existing ADR institutions and service within the country. This underutilization of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms in Ethiopia can be attributed to lack of awareness and the lack of recognition given by the government and the relevant organizations and other different professionals. This study aims to fill the gap of the awareness gap, evaluating ADR mechanisms and their contribution to promote social cohesion, going beyond the previously regional focused analysis of traditional conflict resolution methods. The objective of the study, the main objective is to assess Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce utilizing ADR to solve disputes and its contribution for social cohesion among the business community and the society at large. The specific objective is to find the role of Addis Ababa Chamber utilizing ADR to solve the dispute, to assess its contribution for social cohesion, to identify the challenges utilizing this ADR service for dispute resolution and social cohesion, and to assess the role of government, private organization in society in promoting ADR. When it comes to the significance of the study, as I said before, in recent years, violence in Ethiopia and its consequence need immediate, urgent intervention in order to protect social values and peace of the communities. So this study aims to enable society to build social solidarity by deeply understanding what is the deep root of this conflicts and how to thoroughly solve them by using alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. So the study goal is to provide interested stakeholders with evidence how to improve social cohesion by utilizing ADR. This study also can close the knowledge gap to serve as reference for future researches. The research methodology employed for this research is qualitative study, which helps to develop an in-depth understanding of the participants' experience, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. The research design is descriptive design to gain detailed information about ADR roles and their challenges. Sampling technique is non-probability sampling by choosing purposive sampling by purposely selecting out-country participants. Data collection was conducted by using primary and secondary data collection. The primary data was collected by in-depth interview and focus group discussions. The participants were arbitrators, mediators, conciliators, and ADR professionals who practice in that area. The secondary data was collected from different written documents. After getting the consent of the participants, interviews and discussions were recorded. So every interview notes and recordings were verbatim transcribed and summarized and categorized. And the themes covered in order to facilitate analysis of this discussion. Participants have distinct backgrounds and credibility, which address dependability problems. And by taking direct quotes from the participants, it addressed confirmability issue. So through the findings, thematic areas were identified, 5 thematic areas. The first is what is the role of ADR in resolving dispute, challenge in ADR utilization, contribution of AXA, ADR service for social cohesion, and the role of government, private organizations, society in promoting ADR, and other initiatives that would complement ADR to support social cohesion. And each theme has sub-themes. The first is what is the role of ADR in resolving disputes? The first role is maintaining and strengthening the relationships. ADR promotes trust, communication, and understanding between disputants, which leads to more effective and lasting solutions. The other role is alleviating the judicial pressure. Nowadays, the court system is overloaded with a lot of cases, which hinders the justice system. ADR can help reduce the court's workload, ensuring quicker resolution of disputes. The other role is avoiding trial delays. By saving time, money, and resources, it alleviates the burden of the courts. The challenge of utilizing ADR is there is lack of awareness, which is hindering its implementation and effectiveness. The other challenge is there is shortage of recognition from government and other institutions, which is affecting its enforcement and respect. The other challenge is insufficient professionals. There are insufficient professionals. There are lack of trained professionals. It doesn't include social workers, sociologists. It's lack of participation from variety of professionals. There is also lack of well-organized centers. Except Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce, this service could be replicated in other areas. It could be replicated in family disputes, inheritance issues. It could be replicated in schools, hospitals, employee-employer disputes. The opportunity is vast. Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce ADR service contribution for social cohesion is it resolves business disputes. By resolving these disputes, it gives the business community to focus their all power on their job, which can help to promote private sector development and investment. This in turn can play for the growth and prosperity of the wider community. The other is it creates social ties by fostering mutual understanding and cooperation among business entities. The other is positive environment. ADR is confidential by its nature, so it preserves the good name, the goodwill of the business community. In turn, this helps them to have positive business climate. And as I said before, it helps the overall economic environment. The role of the government in the private organization in society in promoting ADR. The government role is to provide legal framework to support ADR, to execute judicial reforms, to avoid barriers to justice. ADR could also be part of the private and public university curriculum so that to work on the next generation. Private organizations can participate in advocating and promoting its adoption. Society can also participate for its contribution. The other is media can raise awareness and educate the public about ADR in order to protect, to build public trust and interest. In conclusion, as you said, ADR is essential for maintaining confidentiality, build relationship, and reducing the burden of the legal system. It has obstacles of implementation because there is lack of awareness, lack of recognition, and the shortage of skilled expertise. ADR services provided by Addis Ababa Chamber of Commerce contribute for social cohesion by settling commercial disputes, encouraging mutual negotiation. There is a need for judicial reform, educational integration, and cooperation partnership is critical to advance ADR. Recommendation is policy recommendation. The first is there is a need for to establish comprehensive laws to recognize ADR mechanisms, and there is a need to provide sufficient funding from the government and the resources for ADR infrastructure and capacity building. There is a need to create central authority to oversee, coordinate, and promote ADR activities. The other recommendation is, as we said, there is lack of awareness, so the government and ADR service providers can conduct large-scale public awareness campaigns about ADR benefits and incentivize the use of ADR and mandating the use of it for commercial, family, community disputes before they go to litigation. There should be a mandatory requirement for them to be seen by ADRs so that it could be recognized by the general public. Institutional and capacity building recommendation is other recommendation. There is a need for strengthening ADR service providers to ensure high quality of service, improve infrastructure of ADR service providers in order by advancing technological infrastructure in order to enhance service delivery and accessibility. And we need to foster collaboration between ADR stakeholders in order to share best practice and resources. And we also need to enhance service quality by providing monitoring and evaluation mechanisms to maintain consistency and reliability in ADR. Social work education and practice recommendation is ADR should be included in social work curriculum, offering courses on conflict resolution, mediation, and negotiation. There should be provided internship programs and hands-on training with ADR service providers to develop practical skills in conflict resolution. Social workers also can participate in the resolution of disputes and to raise community awareness on understanding of ADR and push the government for legislative change and encourage the use of ADR. For future research, it is recommended to focus on empirical studies to understand the long-term impact of ADR on social cohesion and community resilience, assessing the effectiveness of ADR in diverse social conflicts, and conducting cost-benefit analysis to ensure the economic and social return of ADR investments are crucial. Additionally, exploring the integration of customary informal way of dispute resolution to formal way of ADR, which is practiced in rural areas of Ethiopia, can help the reachability of the legal system to other areas also. So investigating the sustainability and the scalability of ADR-based interventions will further contribute to its development and implementations. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr.
staff, invited guests, presenters, participants, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to acknowledge the valuable contributions of all who made this conference a reality and a success. Today's seminar, held for the 16th year in a row, demonstrates SMU's continued commitment to research undertakings and exchange of ideas and knowledge sharing. This seminar is the second research forum SMU held this academic year, after a month and a half since it organized the 22nd International Conference on Private Higher Education in Africa. This multidisciplinary seminar, in which we listened to findings of 9 research papers, has brought together not only scholars, but practitioners as well, from diverse walks of life to deliberate on issues that need improvement. I'm pleased to have witnessed the lively deliberations that took place at today's seminar. It's my strong conviction that the ideas transpired at this seminar will have meaningful contributions to the growth and development of Ethiopia and the coexistence of its people. As you may have noticed, we had papers from across the various disciplines, which include agriculture, accounting and finance, economics, education, psychology, ICT, health, philosophy, social work, sociology, and others, all of which were not only relevant, but also timely. This mix of papers presented and deliberated today makes the seminar really multidisciplinary, and it recognizes SMU's endeavor in contributing to Ethiopia's strategic plans, even in areas where the university does not offer training. The gender mix of speakers is also to be commended. I'm especially happy to see 3 very intelligent, intellectual, and highly motivated women between us today, making lively, nice presentations. Thank you for that. I, on behalf of SMU, would like to thank all parties who worked so hard to make this seminar a reality. Especially, I feel honored to extend my appreciation to the founder and president of the university for his unwavering commitment, encouragement, and support to research and publication. I would also like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the researchers who were the causes for our gathering today. My acknowledgement and thanks are also due to the Research and Knowledge Management Office team led by Assistant Professor Matthias Schwendes for the successful organization of the seminar. The International Relations and Communication Office too deserve appreciation for the valuable contribution in the successful organization of this event. I would also like to acknowledge the various SMU offices which collaborated with the Research and Knowledge Management Office. This includes the Master of Ceremony, the chairpersons, and the rapporteurs. Especially, you participants deserve appreciation for making the deliberations lively. Finally, I would like to remind you that we have 2 more research undertakings: the annual National Student Research Forum and the annual Open and Distance Learning Seminar, which will be held in the next 2 months, making SMU's annual research forum 4 in just 1 year. Hoping to see you all in the upcoming research forums, I declare the seminar closed. Thank you.